Welcome in. It is Sunday Night Roundtable. I'm your host, Michael Gillum, joined by Ryan Watson, Jonathan Boren, and Robert Greenlaw. Your Tennessee Titans are 8-3 and number one in the AFC South after a 45-26 absolute ass kicking of the Colts, which everyone saw coming, and especially this one did not record a podcast earlier this week talking about the Titans were going to struggle. We are all brought to you by BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Come check us out. Come celebrate with us. We're happy that you are in here. Gentlemen, raise your hand if you thought the Titans were going to beat the absolute dog shit out of the Colts. Don't put your hand in the air. You're fucking filthy liars. Don't put your hand in the air. Anyways, beautiful showing. Let's start off with the fact that the Titans decided to put up 35 points in the first half. Who wants to start? I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do with my hands.
This was an absolute just beanbag dragging performance by the Titans, and you love to see it. I mean, this is one of those, count this off my Christmas list because I got it early. This is fantastic. The offensive line was great today. I don't want to hear the Colts were downplayed. I get it. They had some guys out. That's fine. But the Titans still have to execute. They still have to go out and make the plays. Henry was phenomenal today. The offensive line was phenomenal today. Tannehill was his normal self, back to basics. But more importantly, the defense found ways to get pressure on Phillip Rivers and turn the ball back over to the Titans when they needed it the most. And that was the big difference in this game, other than the Derrick Henry just dragging the Colts into the end zone. It was fantastic.
Can I just make a note here that somebody already has mentioned it here, but the Titans are now a win over the Texans and Jags from actually not hitting 9-7, which is just quite the accomplishment, regardless of anything else. If the Titans do not finish 9-7, there should be a parade down Broadway.
I'm for it.
Day ain't over yet.
I do want to give a shout out. You said no one could have possibly expected the Colts to get run over by the Titans like that. You know who definitely didn't notice that was Will and Sarah. Congratulations to the newlywed couple, Will and Sarah. They got married at the Colts game today. What an amazing experience that must have been to have to watch that on their wedding day while they got married inside the stadium. Unbelievable.
I hope they were despondent. That's why you don't get married at sporting events. Sorry. Maybe they'll raise you a banner up.
Derrick Henry in the first year.
Derrick Henry with 3 touchdowns, 178 yards of rushing. What an animal. Multiple animals on this team. We're going to start with that animal there. 3 TDs in the first half. Disgusting.
Yeah, and look, and I said it during the halftime show, and I think commented to Boren personally just in chat and everything that, like, I don't get why the Colts are so chippy after giving up 10-yard runs. Like, they were literally getting in Derrick Henry's face, like, yeah, we stopped you. He's like, congratulations, bro. It's a 12-yard run. Here's your medal. You stopped Derrick Henry before the end zone. Fantastic. Like, it was just the Titans could do whatever they wanted to in rushing. It seemed like the entire game. There was like 4 plays I think that didn't go for like 3 yards plus. So the Titans absolutely dominated the rushing game today. Controlled the tempo, controlled the game, and it was really just whether the defense would show up. And you said, raise your hand if you thought the Titans were going to run away with this game. That's fine. I didn't raise my hand because I thought this was going to be a boat race to 60. Like, whoever gets to 60 first wins this game. That was my impression before the game started. I thought the Titans and the Colts both were going to have success because I thought the Colts were still going to try to take advantage of the linebacker situation with the Titans. That didn't, really happen because David Long played a hell of a game. Let's be honest. He came up and made some big stops. That's a big game for him. But the defense as a whole, especially midway through the second quarter to the second half, really played well and really did the Titans a service here and put the Colts in the back seat of the AFC South. It's fantastic. Grand Borders, yes. Thank you, Taylor.
And it looked like a race to 50 through the first 2 drives for both teams. It was 14-14. So, and then all of a sudden,
I said this was going to happen.
I mean, it really did. It looked like it was going to be last team to possess the ball based on the way both defenses were playing. But Titans defense found a way to start stopping shit, which I was pleased to see. I was so afraid it was going to be another Titans open up with a great drive, and then, oh God, here we go. Not the case. The Titans absolutely went wild in the first half.
Well, that's one of those things. The Colts came out with the exact same game plan from 2 weeks ago. They come in, and it's one of those situations where they're going to attack the safeties and linebackers, which, I don't know why they would do anything different than that with the success that they had. And in the first 2 drives, they had success with that. The problem is the same way that the Titans get away from some of their game plan sometimes, just like any other NFL team does, the Titans come into this, or the Colts rather, come into it, and they kind of got away from that. They started to feel the pressure of being down multiple scores. So they get in and they start trying to throw the ball down the field to some of their wide receivers, attacking those corners. And look, we see some shout out to Breon Borders, to Malcolm Butler, to Des King, who, even though he had some penalties there, the corners for the Titans have been playing very well over the last couple of weeks. And that's not something that they need to necessarily be shutdown corners, but coming up and attacking the wide receivers when they make the catch and just making the tackles. That's all the Titans really ask them to do. So the Colts kind of got out of their game plan because of the flow of the game. And in that, really, that was it. It was over.
Bourne, real quick, you made a great point during the game as well. Just want to call attention to this and talk about this for a second. What do the Titans do when Adoree comes back? Because Breon Borders has been playing so well. What do you do with Adoree? Like, I mean, I get the initial reactions. You got to put Adoree in there. But Breon Borders has been playing very well, and it almost is a disservice to him and his effort, what he has been. So what do we do with him at this point? Or what do the Titans do? Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm still not exactly sure. Borders, he's been cut by eight different teams, and yes, he's playing well right now. And I think the play that you saw to T.Y. Hilton down the field is a situation where you could see Adoree Jackson come in and make a play with his athleticism there. Sure. Borders is not that supreme athlete, but it is something where Adoree Jackson could possibly make a play on there. But it's, again, going back to a good problem to have moving forward. You'd rather have Adoree Jackson in there and be asking yourself, well, should we take Borders off the field? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think
you're getting Christian Fulton back too. Sorry, Ryan. Yeah, you're getting Christian Fulton back as well.
Definition of good problems, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, very good problems. A couple of shout outs here in the chat here. Butler, Borders, Quessenberry, people stepping up into positions and playing, and this was a game that those pieces had to come together, and it did. Titans didn't just eke out a win. They won in a commanding fashion, which felt good. I really liked towards the end of the game, kind of jumping around here, but I really liked towards the end of the game, as the announcers are talking about that it feels kind of crappy for the Titans to get this win as they give up that late garbage touchdown to the Colts. And then A.J. Brown returns a onside kick for a TD on cue. Fantastic. And that's where I'm going with this. A.J. Brown continuing to bring that BDE into the game. The man, what else can you say about it? That's right. I said BDE, large penis energy. The man is bringing it. It's an A.J. Brown love fest. Who wants to start?
Yeah, it's that Ken Boner energy. Brings it every single week. Every week we talk about him. Ken Boner and A.J. Brown, both of them get brought up on this post game because they're unstoppable. Unbelievable effort from A.J.
Oh my gosh, it's nice to have that weapon, right? Because as Bourne has stated before,
hold on. Do you mean Ken Boner or A.J. Brown?
Both.
Well, both of them are weapons. Yeah,
they're weapons in this chat for sure. But to Bourne's point, if A.J. Brown he makes that first tackle miss, if he gets out of that, he's dangerous to score from any part of the field. He doesn't have what I would call top end elite speed, but he just seems.
Did he just die mid comment?
Well, that's what A.J. Brown does to you. He makes the defender seize up. He made Ryan seize up.
Boren, take over for him.
I'm not sure I can, and that could be a problem because our sound is running through the same system here. So this is just a cluster. I'm assuming you all can hear me right now, so I'm just going with it.
No, we're dropped.
Can I get a thumbs up?
Yeah, we hear you.
We're here. All right, cool. So, and I want to kind of pivot because there's lots of comments coming in talking about Compton and Long and how their rotation has kind of supplemented the loss of Jayon Brown being there. And so the problem with that is there is some predictability with that. So this is kind of the first game where they have had to deal with that loss of Jayon Brown. So Lebowski's just losing it here, and I'm not sure what to do with that. So it's one of those where Compton gives you one thing and he knows the defense. So he comes into the game when he knows what he's supposed to be calling. Long as that guy that's kind of a fireball, it's going to come in and he's just going to make plays. He's going to be aggressive attacking. He's going to give up some plays, but at the same time, he is going to have some big plays here. So you got to be willing to take those losses with the wins. I don't know. Is it still a loss? Yes. This is not a game or a team that can afford the loss of Jayon Brown. I think they have to know that going forward, that this is going to be a loss. I would not be surprised if moving forward teams try to take advantage of knowing when Compton's on the field and when Long's on the field and what their strengths and weaknesses are.
Certainly. So what does this tell you as Ryan joins us? And I want you to know that we have a screen grab of the ridiculous face you were making. So congratulations. But as you rejoin us here, what does this win today tell you specifically on the defensive side? Let's start there. What does this win tell you today about this defense and especially the players that are stepping up into their roles?
You're muted, Ryan.
I have no audio if anybody's talking.
Perfect. I can hear myself. This is a cluster.
We can hear you too, boy.
Greenlaw, go.
I mean, it tells you they can adjust, right? They got absolutely whooped by the same Colts team 2 weeks ago, and they came back less than 2 weeks later, or I guess a little bit more, and absolutely dominated. So it gives you confidence that they can adjust, but that's all I got. Ryan can adjust, obviously, to technology.
There is zero adjustment here.
Ryan, adjust. He's gone. Ryan doesn't. Ryan is having a fuck you afternoon. Boren, what does this say about the defense? Boren is done. It's now just Greenlaw and I. Look, this is the way I feel about it, is that
I'm here.
The team today, they showed up and got it done. And now, number one, what am I hearing? What is going on here? Anyways, trying to reset and get back on topic here. Let's go back to the offense. Offensive side of the ball. Wow. Completely coming apart here. Absolutely coming apart. Who's with me right now?
As if it hadn't come apart already.
I gotcha.
All right, we got a comment up here. Vaccaro can play linebacker more sure if Hooker plays better.
Can we be clear? This is hookier. I'm not sure if that is Amani Hooker or somebody that's actually hookier than Amani Hooker. So I agree. It's one of those putting Vaccaro in there, and it's the same sort of mentality that they went with against the Ravens. And so many times that teams come in and they say, okay, the Ravens are this different team, so we have to play this different mentality. But the same mentality going into the Colts, because of the way they were attacking the linebackers and safeties, makes sense to bring in Hooker at safety and let Vaccaro or even Byard come up and kind of play that weak side linebacker and attack that position that way. Take off a long altogether. Let Evans play that middle linebacker or a strong side linebacker and let Hooker or one of the safeties come up. You lose some strength in the run game, but dare that player to come up and be that run stopper. Dare the Colts to actually run the ball against it the same way they kind of dared the Ravens. And so I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
I will say one piece that really was nice today on the few times he was out there punting, the return of Brett Kern was nice, very nice. I mean, being able to pin the Colts deep, and especially when the Titans defense did kind of get their shit together and were starting to play and actually stop the Colts, having that nice deep field position from Kern's punts. It's just, you really don't know how much you miss a punter like Kern until he's gone, and now that he's back, it felt right. It felt like Dad went to go get cigarettes and he actually came back.
Now, having that weapon, it's one of those where you come in and on some of those drives where they pinned him back at the 12-8-yard line, people don't understand what kind of weapon that is. Even look back at the Colts game or 2 weeks ago, not the Colts game, 2 minutes ago, the one that happened a couple weeks ago, where the impact that the Trevor Daniels 17-yard punt and then a block punt really had on your team and the flow of the game. I'm huge as far as how the flow of a football game actually takes place and how it impacts a team moving forward. So when you look at that, it's one of those that Brett Kern, even on the plays that it didn't necessarily produce points. It kept the Colts pinned at their end zone. It kept them on the back burner. It kept them trying to reach for points. Those are the things that change the flow of a game and really impact the game.
Shazam's got a great comment there. 4th and 4 before halftime, deep shot to CD. Great call. I had literally just tweeted out on that 3rd down right when the Titans decided to go for it on 4th was that, yeah, the Titans film room, great call after 3 awful calls. I had just tweeted out that what are we doing on this drive, and then go for it on 4th. I need to learn to shut up and finish watching the entire series. But I will say, yeah, that was frustrating to see. It looked like they were going conservative right there, and maybe, to Boren's point, disrupting the flow of the game. But this game felt out of hand at halftime, and I almost was afraid the Titans were going to go too conservative trying to run out the clock. But the Colts just came out of the locker room. It seemed like even flatter than they went in and just had no drive about them. I found myself tweeting, messing around on Messenger and things like that for long periods of time during the second half.
And the Titans offense only scored, or I guess didn't, but the Titans only scored 10 points in the second half. So there was big goals, and the Colts really never took advantage of getting back into it.
So leading in, obviously, off of this win, Titans have 3 opponents coming up: the Browns, Jags, and Lions. I would say the Browns pose the biggest threat as of today. I mean, they are 7-3, but didn't look great again today. Baker Mayfield continues to be all over the place. So we know how important it was that they get a win today, but I think it's really more important now that the Titans finish this season strong, because to me, I look at the 3 upcoming games. Those look like some trap games, especially with the Lions firing their head coach. That, all of a sudden you got a team that's going to be resurgent about, they don't have their head coach that they were celebrating with mimosas in the locker room, terrorizing them anymore. So how important is it for them to finish strong right now?
I'm pretty pleased that game isn't next week, to be honest, because then you would get that dead coach drop or whatever bounce. And but going back to a couple weeks ago, if you had told me going into the Baltimore game that they would win the next 2, I would be shocked, considering the way they had played prior to that, losing, I guess, winning 1 of 4 in that span. And then you go in, you beat the Ravens, then you go in and you beat the Colts. 2 very impressive wins. Now you have a chance to take advantage of a Browns team that's not very good. And Baker Mayfield threw his first touchdown today since week 7. So their pass isn't great. You're going to have to focus on stopping the run back.
I want to jump in here because I see Zero from Periscope commenting. Second half, there needed to be more play action on first down instead of the Henry dives that put it in 2nd and long. Most games, I would generally agree with you. And this is a big thing that I get into. I was talking about earlier, the flow of the game. So we talk about the flow of the game, of this game specifically. Look, you do not need to get fancy. You do not need to get cute. The way that game was actually playing out, don't go away from Henry. I don't care. I don't need you. And I don't care if Tannehill had thrown for 400 yards. The way the game played out and the way that the defense that was playing early on, you continue to feed your running back until they stop it. And literally, they did not stop a run to put them behind the sticks until the second half after that kickoff took place. And because of that, I would have rode that until they took it away. And they didn't. They never really did. And so for me, it's hard for me to say that they needed to go more play action and more pass with the way that game was playing out, because look, the offensive line was winning. The running backs were winning. The wide receivers were winning downfield to get those plays. So it's in my opinion, it's hard for me to be critical at all in asking for more passes. I'm being attacked by the encounters of the third kind here.
Yeah, it looks like you're being abducted or someone's in your house with a flashlight. Ryan has gone from participating in this chat to having his own little play school moment, and he's gone again. So I'm not going to go to Ryan anymore. He's done. Robert, I'm going to ask you this. What's your biggest takeaway from this game?
That the the Titans can kind of impose their will on anybody. Colts had one of the best run defenses in the league, and they still were able to run it down their throat.
Boren, biggest takeaway to close this out.
I think if you're been in this category where it has to be is this a different Titans team? Is it the same Titans team as old? Well, the Titans are on path to actually hit double-digit wins. The Titans actually came with a big win when everything with the writing on the wall, I really believe that the Titans of old would have lost this game. And so for me, I do think this is a different Titans team. I think it's a team that actually shows resolve and can come through in the clutch, which I do think is something you have to be learned. It's not something where some of these young teams, this is a kind of game where they would have dropped. So I do think this is the best Titans team we've seen in probably a decade. Now, I think they probably will lose a couple games pushing out here, but it's hard to be too critical.
No, certainly. I mean, it echoes my thoughts as well. This swing game really could have gone in either direction, and for the Titans to get such a decisive win here, you got to feel good. I think you really got to feel good about what the defense was able to work with today as well. Gave me some hope going forward that they can pull some pieces together, finish this thing out strong, and move into the playoffs. So there it is, folks. Your Tennessee Titans are 8-3 and in first place in the AFC South, which is it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. We love it. We're sad that Ryan couldn't join us, although the way he was acting with his flashlight, I don't know if I'm actually sad or not. For Jonathan Bourne and Robert Greenlaw, I am Michael Gillum. This has been your Sunday Night Roundtable. We are brought to you by BroadwaySportsMedia.com. We appreciate you all joining us as always, and we will see you next week.